live, just like to let you know. Okay. So yeah.
Thank you.
I respect you enough not to have that conversation live. Yes.
Yeah, let's not do that. But
exactly.
let's have it.
Even for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in comedy, for Christ's sakes. All right. Okay. We are live. We're recording. All right. And if you guys are ready, I'm going to start that commercial. And Allison, thank you for the fishing conversation. I never knew.
Support for Wrong About Everything comes from Minnesota's credit unions. Credit unions are locally based, member-owned financial cooperatives that return earnings to members through higher savings rates, lower loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information.
Are we live? Is there a song? I can't hear the song.
Yeah, the song's playing. So here, I'll just... All right, go ahead, take it away.
Welcome back to Wrong About Everything. We are back. Well, some version of we, Allison. Oh, you're on mute. It's okay, folks. It's Allison's first day with the new Zoom.
Have you guys heard about Zoom? I think it's going to be huge.
Gonna be huge.
Going to be huge. Mike, who are you? Introduce yourself.
I am ex-urban, semi-conservative, semi-Republican, all Jordan Mike Franklin.
And I am downtown Minneapolis cultural correspondent, Allison Nessie.
And we are wrong about
everything.
And we're on Zoom again. So we're a little bit out of sync. But the plague seems to have affected certain members of our team, and we're trying to stay safe, as it were.
It's giving norovirus. We should also note that at the time of recording, at 3 p.m. on Friday, March 27th, we are 2 hours away from first and second legislative deadline in the Minnesota legislature. So let's get her done.
It's one of the happier moments of the session. So we would welcome you officially into the Minnesota Credit Union Network studio, deep in the recesses of MBC. We got Gabe Noah, as is our tradition, making sure the ones and the zeros are working. So greetings, Gabe.
Standing by, got your back.
Awesome, man. So please do check the website out. Also, wrongaboutEverything-podcast.com. And if you're watching us, you're already on the YouTube channel. If you're listening to us, we have a YouTube channel. You should check it out at youtube.com. And then search Wrong About Everything. Oh, there it is. Wrong About Everything podcast. Allison, you want to do the first read and I'll do the second?
Let's pay some bills. So today's show is sponsored by Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association. Since 1952, the Minnesota Licensed Beverage Association has been helping licensed beverage retailers in the state of Minnesota with information resources, educational programs, and government affairs services designed to promote and protect their business. All our member retailers understand that with the MLBA, you're not alone.
And I'm proud to bring you this podcast in part by Bradshaw and Bryant. Their entire team of attorneys and staff are dedicated to providing the legal advice you need, combined with the service and professional attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, do not hesitate to call them. Those consultations are free. So you can call them, as is indicated on the screen, at 800-770-7008 or at minnesotapersonalinjury.com. All right, Allison, let's get into it. You teed it up very expertly. We are at, we're very near our holiday break, which is the sort of halftime, if you will, for the Minnesota legislative session. What's your read? You're much more of a real lobbyist than I am.
Well, things are going. They're going. I wouldn't say well. I'm riding a little bit of a high personally. A bill that I have been working on since like last fall did pass off the Senate floor yesterday as an individual issue, and it passed the House, it passed the Senate, it's on its way to the governor's office. So I'm feeling a little spoiled. I know that it's a rare occasion this year to get something across the finish line. So kudos, both votes in the House and the Senate were bipartisan, and really appreciated it. But that being said, with the tie in the House at 67-67, with the Senate at 34-33, with the pressures of an election year where everybody's on the ballot, and at least a quarter, if not a third, of current lawmakers have announced that they're going to be retiring after this year. The chaos factors are playing out. We've talked about this a few times on the podcast leading up to session, but it is playing out in real time. There's a lot of floor discussions and statements that are certainly going to be hallmarks of the campaign this fall. So a lot of focus there. Not a ton of pressure to get things done because technically they don't have to do anything. There's things we would really like them to do, particularly in response to some changes at the federal level. But as far as like setting the state budget and going into a shutdown, that does not need to happen this year. So it's been pretty rocky, both in the House and Senate and various committees. And I know there's a few members that listen to us every week. I don't think they would disagree. And members of the public that watch and engage. But I do think there are still some big things that everybody does agree on. And there's a couple things that folks really want that I think can maybe make it in the end, but I don't think it'll come together until mid-May.
Tale as old as time, as it were.
Yeah.
This, to the extent that I've been around now 20 plus years, in and out of the Capitol. I mean, somewhat detached. This is the strangest session. I think it almost goes without saying. I mean, just given the tie in the House and the 1 seat margin in the Senate, just the mood and vibe of the building just seems so. Oh, and then of course, all of the other things that have kind of put Minnesota on the map almost entirely in a negative sense in the past year to year and a half. So it is definitely a very unique mood and vibe. Allison, you mentioned the retirements. There was a hat tip to our friends at Fluence Media. They are keeping a tracker, and I looked at it on Monday after there was over the weekend a couple of I think at least in one case a surprise retirement of Representative Swedzinski. Who is the chair of the Energy Committee, represents in the Marshall area. I counted 41, and that's out of a total population of 201. So, and that's before anybody loses an election, which, if passed as prelude, at least some will. So there'll be some turnover in November. So, starting next year with if it gets up to 50, let's say, that's a quarter of the body that will, be in their first session in 2027. And, so I totally agree. I actually just, I sure hope they wouldn't mind my saying, it's a public building and this was somewhat of a public act, but I was in the Capitol on Wednesday taking some calls, and I saw Senate leaders Murphy and Johnson walking laps together just around the third floor, just having a conversation. And I actually thought that was one of the better things I had seen in some time. And I've seen them obviously appear in public many times, but this was obviously not something that was staged for the public. They were just walking and talking. That was a small moment, but certainly one that I wanted to kind of make note of on this show. So to the extent that we all have things we're working on professionally, we're working hard, but we're sort of stuck where we get stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think there's going to be a lot more clarity after break. Today is first and second deadline. They combined the first two deadlines on the same day. And for those who do not know what that means, that just means it's policy bills that don't have a budget or a financial impact have to be heard in both chambers by 5 p.m. today. So there's certainly a rush to get a lot of that work done and moving in the process. And then when they come back from a well-earned Easter Passover break, which starts at 5:01 p.m. today, and they return to the building on Tuesday, April 7th. They will pick back up and start talking about a potential supplemental budget. So any budget bills really haven't gotten a lot of airtime yet, a few, of course, but that's more of a discussion for after break. And so we'll see people we'll see cards played a little bit more. Right now they're holding priorities pretty close to their chest. But to your point, Mike, Senator Murphy, Senator Johnson do have a good relationship. I saw them walking around as well, and their Care 11 did a story. I think all the leaders went to dinner. There's a lot of theatrics that goes on, but there's also a lot of really long-standing and relationships and people with an urgency to tackle some problems this year.
Yeah. I'm one that said that I think the fact of the tie could wind up being a good thing for the body and the House in that case, and the state, and for that matter, the periodic ties we've had in the Senate over the past year. I don't know that I'm completely dissuaded of that, and I don't know that I ever want to see it happen again, but I do think there are some of those, like the Sweeney's, lunch and a beer thing that, we'll get to another story about that in a moment. But those are my guess is for those members who are coming back next year, they will have learned some important lessons from having to serve in an environment like this, regardless of who's in the majorities next year. And God willing, there are majorities next year.
I have joked with a few members in the House that it is really hard to whip votes with two majorities. It's like when you have a bill on the floor, the amount of meetings that you need to have with everyone, because everyone is in the majority. So I would love one majority next year, and I would love it to be the DFL. So.
We don't agree on that, and the minority, right? Both parties are simultaneously also minorities, and so it's really interesting where you're there's a rhythm that emerges where amendments are offered almost always by the minority, and they're going to go down, but sometimes they don't, and there's this sort of, but the parties kind of play their parts. And in this session, they sort of can switch roles almost in real time, where in one instance, it almost looks like there's a Republican majority, and then half an hour later, it can sort of be functioning a little bit more like the Democrats are in the majority. And I very much resonate to what you're saying. So moving on to our next topic
Oh, wait, Mike, can I do something real quick?
Of course, yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the Legislative Reference Library, which is where Fluence Media gets their data, because the people at the Legislative Reference Library have created a great tracker for retirement. So
thank you.
A shout out to our the amount of things that the Legislative Reference Library does and offers the public is immense, and they deserve a public shout out. So
thank you, and we can post this. We can post this as well, so folks can keep track of the tracking. And it is an intense list, and it's a lot of seniority too of the people who have declared they're not coming back, let alone those who are, of course, defeated in an election.
Yeah.
So thank you for that plug. Moving on, at least though, our largest city is functioning very well. I'm a local government guy, of course, and in full disclosure, Allison and I both work for a firm that does a lot of work with the city of Minneapolis. So please don't take this in any way, shape, or form as anything other than commentary on a news story. But in today's news, there was something that piqued my attention, that there was a pretty spicy council meeting yesterday where the paragraph that made me pause in this story by bringing me the news says, the council debated a resolution urging European financial institutions to divest from companies that enable the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and ICE. Councilmember Oren Chaudhry alleged that she had heard someone laugh and make snide remarks when she was talking, and then it kind of goes through the play-by-play of council members chiming in, basically talking about how they were reacting to being mistreated. So sort of, and we've got a clip coming up here too of another council member trying to figure out what the heck was going on and when we're going to break for. Why don't we just, Gabe? Why don't
okay, I got it right here.
Excuse me. When we going to break for lunch? What the fuck? This fucking joke.
Well, that was council member Hot Mike Rainville.
I thought he was a diplomat.
Who didn't know that his, I presume, didn't know that his microphone was on. And then based on the story, they kind of go into recess, but not before another council member talking about how I'm trying to find who phrased it. It's not, it was as back to Chaudhry. I did not come to work to get bullied. And so what a spicy council meeting. I know, Allison, you're a veteran of the city of Minneapolis. Is this normal, or is this just people having a bad day, or?
I mean, I just, so this disclaimer at the beginning, our firm works with the city of Minneapolis directly, and for the impacts of Operation Metro Surge, particularly in the city of Minneapolis, and trying to address all of the problems facing communities within the city of Minneapolis, feeling very, very helpless, even when you're a policymaker, especially at the city, because the city does very little in the space, and actually has a very restricted budget and where they can actually discretionary spend funds. So there's a feeling of helplessness, and then when you have just relationships that are fraught or tense, and then you feel disrespected, and frankly, multiple people across the council and frankly both factions felt disrespected, and it boiled over, and we're seeing that in Congress, we are seeing that in the Minnesota State Legislature, and we are seeing that in the Minneapolis City Council. So I'm not trying to diminish it, but I just think it's a reflection of where we are at with all of the challenges we are facing, and communities still in a lot of pain after and like ICE is still here. Like, people are still being snatched and deported. It's just not so present visibly. So there's just there's a lot of pain.
As a totally unaffiliated voice, I just want to step in real quick and say I think it shows a lot of moxie.
Councilmember Rainville had a little moxie there, to be sure. I don't disagree with anything you said, Allison. I as the non Minneapolis, somewhat more conservative. I think you see this in areas too where where they're dominated by conservatives, and we'll talk a little bit. In fact, I in particular will talk later about a conservative group that deserves to be spanked today. Spoiler alert. That I think you see more and more again from the outside looking in. I don't. I understand there's the sort of progressive and sort of moderate factions. It doesn't look all that much different to me, being on the outside. And I understand that I'm sure it doesn't, looking back in the mirror either, to sort of see the ongoing fights within the Republican Party, for example, between the Action for Liberty group and the establishment, although these terms are just kind of foolish in a lot of ways. But it's interesting to me, at least. I can't help but notice that it seems like the closer together ideologically you are, the sort of more angry you get about small differences. And it's sort of those differences look a lot bigger to you within that prism than they do from the outside looking in.
Oh my God, yeah. So when I worked at the city, it was always so interesting because, I worked and the city of Minneapolis government relations team is not in the mayor's office like it is in St. Paul. They are in a city department. So they're not You work for the council as much as you work for the mayor. You work for the city enterprise, and that is who you represent. And it is so fascinating to be in that dynamic in City Hall, where all council members are either Democrats or Democratic Socialists or Green Party members. So so they're either left or left. And at the Capitol, the DFL and frankly the GOP too, you have a lot of inter-caucus, inter-party dynamics. But at the end of the day, you get in line because you can look across the aisle. You can look across the line. There's someone across the line. Whereas when you're in a body that you all subscribe to the same, same convention list. Again, like Councilmember Wansley is a Democratic Socialist. She does not identify with the DFL, but it becomes it's personality politics. It's relationship driven. It's which can be exhausting in a different way. And that's just what happens. Like,
I knew there was a phrase. I didn't realize, and I'm relying on AI here, but I'd heard it before. The narcissism of small differences, and apparently it's a phrase coined by Freud. That the sort of the more shared, similar backgrounds you get, you see this all over the place. You see this in religion, you see it in families, you see it, in lots of different communities. But that, folks with the most similar backgrounds tend to get far more intense about, something that from, a couple steps removed looks like not that big of a difference. And I wonder about how in our politics, getting more and more bubbled, if you will, that 90% of the conversations in most places in this country and in Minnesota are now held within a political party rather than between political parties, whether we're not seeing some of this emerge all over the place. And so I pulled the Minneapolis story not because Minneapolis, but because I think this is it seems like you agree, this is more in line with just how politics is starting to work today, or not work, as it were, all over the place. And so it's it's sad and worth observation, but it is what it is.
It is. I mean, politics has really become an identity. I really like to ground myself personally. Like, politics is not a personality. It is not. It is, but it very much has become an identity and a platform. Both, as we all are content creators, as individuals on our social media. Like, so there's just as it has become more of that, it gets more personal, and if it's more personal, then you get more emotional, and like it's just that's where I think we're at. And like, frankly, the city of Minneapolis, the traumas that we have faced over the last 6 years, just from COVID and then George Floyd's murder, and then just like constant, and then trying to come together as a community to reimagine public safety and policing and police reform, like the amount of pain and trauma that, frankly, the city has impacted, its leadership has been impacted by and experienced, now to ICE and Trump putting like a big red dot on Minneapolis, on the Somali community. I mean, it's just like, it is thing after thing after thing, and people are responding, frankly, as I think they would, which is with a lot of emotion and anger, and that's where we're at.
That's where we're at, indeed. So we're not gonna get too far past those observations today, unfortunately. But I think this is a good theme to just keep our eyes on as we go forward. And there's also just one last thought on this, is that we've to add to everything you just said, which I co-sign. There's also been this now since 2006. Every successive election is both a change election and also delivers, for the most part, I think there have been a couple of exceptions in here, pretty small majorities, which does create that tension for people to hang together. within those majorities. I mean, obviously, like I say, there were exceptions. 2008 was an exception, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, we've kind of had this almost persistent tie. Obviously, represented in Minnesota, to a great extent at the Capitol this year, and a big victory by one party or the other that was somewhat sustained, might be something that could kind of reshuffle the deck in a way that, I think there's a theory that there's a kind of, for most of American history, there's sort of been a sun party and a moon party. And we just have never had such a sustained period of time where there were two moon parties.
Yeah.
And it seems to be kind of where we're at. And so it all feels abnormal because it's abnormal. We'll continue to observe how that may change. It is just moving on. It's worth noting that it's too early to detect fallout from this, if there is any. But one of the 134 House members, State Representative Elliot Engen, yesterday, who is also a statewide candidate. He is running for state auditor, actually in a fairly contested election. That is not always the case for state auditor, at least among Republicans. I believe Scott Jensen is now running in that race, and memory is failing me, but I believe there's one other candidate seeking endorsement.
Well, you guys came pretty close in 2020 in the last round, so.
Well, that race may have gotten a little more complicated about 20 or so hours ago, or 24 almost hours ago, when Representative Engen was arrested on suspicion of DUI and jailed for a few hours before he was released on his own recognizance. And it looks like he had a blood alcohol concentration of 0.13, whereas of course the legal limit is 0.08. He has apologized. He's a 27-year-old young man. I think he's in his third or fourth term. But his quote was, "To my family, colleagues, and constituents, I'm deeply sorry. I strive to be a man of great character, and my actions fell short last night. I will learn from this. I will do better." And of course, not the first session DUI that's happened, sadly, and not the first instance where there's been a story about alcohol interfering, in this case, legally, but with the legislative procedure. But this is hard to say whether this will rise to the level of affecting the outcome for the rest of session. I would suspect there's not going to be much more to this story, beyond what we've seen, but you never know.
You never know. There was social media of him, at a local establishment at 2:30 yesterday afternoon. They were at floor session at 3:30. It's not a good look. Any member listening, don't go to the bar during the day. Like, go at night. Don't go before floor session. It doesn't look good. Taxpayers do not appreciate it. So I never find joy in people getting involved in the law. I really don't. And he has a young family, and I hope he gets the help that he needs, and this offers him a point of reflection. Driving while intoxicated is incredibly serious, and so many people have lost loved ones to drunk drivers and accidents. So I do not make light of it. I also Elliot Engen says Representative Engen says some incredibly hurtful to a lot of people comments in some of his floor speeches and some of his committee statements. He's a strong force for increasing penalties. Wouldn't describe him as leading with grace in some situations. So of course you'll see some folks maybe seeing some hypocrisy there. But I'm just pointing that out. I'm not choosing to participate. And I just, don't drink during the day while you're still in session. Just don't do that.
Yeah, we've seen it before. When I first got back to Minnesota and in politics. I'll date myself. That was 2004. There was a huge scandal that was broken by, was it KSDP? I'm trying to remember which station, but it was a TV, sort of a sting. It was referred to of that showed something that even baby lobbyists like me back then knew that was something that went on. That there was drinking at the Capitol during the closing days of session in that case, and it was this really kind of interesting expose. And every time one of these stories comes up, I think about, how each individual decision, gets, and I don't make light of driving while intoxicated either, but I'm sort of distinguishing between, simply imbibing while legislating. You'll see legislators, and not so much at the Capitol anymore, but certainly later in session during those long breaks where people have nothing to do for hours on end. It's not uncommon to see folks around bars in St. Paul but we talked earlier about Sweeney's is offering a lunch and a beer, and so. But I agree with you. Like, watch yourself. I mean, you're an incredibly public figure, doing incredibly public work, and certainly when you invite a level of celebrity among yourself, either by conducting yourself in a certain way on the floor and in committee and on Twitter. You're sort of you get to be a little bit extra focused on when you need grace. So maybe this is a good lesson for everyone, but in particular for Representative Engen. And I too share your concern. I hope he gets. I hope he does take this as a lesson to certainly not to drive anymore, and maybe just bring it back between the lines here for at least the next 6 or 7 weeks.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I feel like I obviously am being a bit harsh on him, and also he has shown glimpse of like true bipartisan interest. He has been working on the bill that would. Well, frankly, the President Trump signed through executive order to ban corporate kind of venture capital backed purchases of single family homes. He is as a dad himself now, like has gotten really involved in childcare and childcare access and family support issues. So like, I hope he can focus
more of that, please,
and on families, and more of that, please. Less Twitter trolling.
Well, and any one of the, there is a certain, as our good friend and colleague Brian McDaniel likes to say, as a man of a certain age, you do tend to get a little perspective, and some of these, there but for the grace of God moments, give you an opportunity to every one of these life moments, good or bad, is an opportunity to sort of reflect and think about where this puts you on where you want to be. And we don't need to dwell too much on this. It is news. We want to cover the news. But certainly when it involves a legislator, prominent legislator, candidate for statewide office, and someone who has a big job in the next 6-7 weeks and potentially beyond if he continues on as a candidate for the state auditor position. This I think you can say this will change things, change some perceptions of Elliott, and I hope he responds accordingly. And
he's not first, and he won't be the last. So
sadly, I think you're right.
All you can do is all you can control is how you address it and move forward.
Amen.
Remind me not to find myself in Allison's crosshairs. That was a remarkably delicate and soft murder you just pulled off on that poor guy. That was your best one ever. I thought it was great. No, I don't want to be in an argument with you.
Allison's a very capable
because she does it nicely, right?
She can get you to the point where you're thanking her while you're being murdered.
She's sinister enough to think she was being nice. That's how crazy that was.
Rhetorically,
yes.
I'm a lobbyist.
No,
I know. I'm just going to stay out of your way. That's all I'm saying.
You're very good at this. Right. Speaking also of situations that might have been overserved, we thought when we were writing our run sheet for this that perhaps our partial shutdown of the federal government was over. But it seems that the partial shutdown remains partially over, with the Senate early this morning voting unanimously to fund the Department of Human Services, except ICE,
Homeland Security.
Or excuse me, Homeland Security. My DHS is confused. Thank you. Department of Homeland Security, without ICE funding, which it seems that President Trump is in the short term going to fund TSA somehow on his own initiative, and then address the full funding in a separate bill that would not be subject to the cloture rules. So we woke up this morning with the news thinking that perhaps our shutdown would be over, and House Republicans stepped in this afternoon as we're recording with a not so fast. They have not been successful in getting the votes to pass this. In fact, it looks like some of the shorthand they use is just so offensive to what I consider myself to be an actual conservative, but certainly the more combative members of the House Republican caucus, as the New York Times characterizes it, angrily rejected a Senate-passed deal to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. And so I'll use their word, conservative, although I have some questions about that word. House Republicans tore into it in harsh terms, derided it for hewing too closely to the Democratic position by omitting money for immigrations and custom enforcement and border control. So I'll just say again, the Senate voted unanimously to pass a bill that now the House, at least as of this publication, has not seen fit to pass. So we remain in a shutdown.
The House, I was thinking about this after we were chatting, because I was like, the House just doesn't want to govern, because governing isn't fun. The rules suck, and the 60 vote threshold in the Senate sucks when you don't have a supermajority, when all those 60 votes are not in your party. It is a dynamic that I was frustrated by when Democrats had the majority but didn't have 60 votes. It's why we don't have, it's why
we don't have a parliament.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like govern. It sucks. You don't get your way. That's actually the whole point of it.
It is the whole point of it. You're exactly right. And this is why I bristle at the use of the word conservative. A conservative understands that. A conservative, I mean, a classical liberal, someone who reads and respects the Constitution, understands that the point of the instrument is to provide any number of mechanisms for the minority to slow things down, to narrow things, and to force compromise. That is what it's about. That is exactly what the document is supposed to do. That is how this country has run for 249 and a half pretty good years and a half of a real shitty one. And so I get, and also just politically, be better at this. I don't understand why on a Friday afternoon of a holiday week, you would choose to keep the bleeping airports closed when this is, obviously starting to redound to the detriment of people in elective office. You've basically just now co-signed that this is your fault. I don't get it on any number of fronts. I wonder, just having seen these things play out a time or two, that by the end of the day, they'll have another vote and they'll have some way of face-saving measure where they can sort of credibly get around to voting to reopen Department of Homeland Security. But in the short run, I don't have much to offer other than I think since I've been more prominently back on the show, Congress doesn't Congress anymore. I agree with exactly what you said, Allison. The House doesn't know how to govern. They don't care to. Congress as an institution seems less inclined to want to be the primary. We hear a lot about co-equal. I think Congress is the primary branch. They're not currently, but the way that's supposed to be. It makes me sad and frustrated, but again, wait a couple hours. Maybe they'll take another crack at this. By the way, too, Trump himself has endorsed passage of the bill, and so and of course he has. So I fail to see the practical or political benefit from remaining in a shutdown in this way. But here we are.
Yeah, there we go.
Rant over.
I'm headed off to the airport in 2 hours, so I look forward to seeing how that goes. So
I thought immediately of you, knowing you're getting on a plane, but that's exactly my point. Is that you are like millions and millions of Americans who are preparing to go see friends and family and enjoy a few days away from things like legislative sessions and enjoy spring break with their families, and you're going to subject them to an unnecessarily unpleasant experience for reasons.
Yeah, airports are usually the thing that gets things moving. People get real pissy about airport travel, and it's usually because of business travel. But anyways, to be continued.
To be continued. So another story just from today, Allison, that I've never seen before. And in fact, to my knowledge, no living American has ever seen before, is that our currency is about to look a little different. For the first time in United States history, a sitting president's signature will appear on U.S. dollars. This is that President Trump has made the decision to add his signature to the dollar. It's unclear, actually, from what I've read, which currency, if it's just going to be the dollar bill or if it's going to be all of our various denominations, and whether also, for example, this part does seem clear that his name will appear alongside the Treasury Secretary, which is what you're accustomed to looking at when you look at currency. You see the signature of the Treasury Secretary and the Treasurer of the United States. Continuing to read the story here, at least as covered by the New York Times, it looks like perhaps the president's signature is going to replace the signature of the Treasurer of the United States. But
Alexander Hamilton is rolling in his grave.
I'm a little bit. When you look at it in the context of who Donald J. Trump is, this is a man who, so again, as a man of a certain age, Donald J. Trump has been a prominent person in my life, at least, obviously very indirectly, but on my screens, as it were, for my entire life. And for that, and as part of that, one of the major themes of watching Donald Trump for over 40 years is that he likes to put his name on things. So this is maybe just the most in your pocket example of it.
It's good thing people don't carry. I mean, there's a whole unbanked world and cash economy in this country, but like the utilization of cash has significantly gone down, and I think this is just gonna speed that up. But I do a lot of stuff around the unbanked and cash economy, and like trying to not allow cities to facilitate cashless payment systems, because it leaves out a whole section of the economy that operates in a cash basis. But this can certainly help, I think, expedite anything. Because will it fit? That's my question. Will the signature fit?
It's a big signature.
It's so big. It's just, yeah.
It's huge. Huge.
Huge signature, tiny hands. It doesn't make sense. It's an overcompensation from the get-go.
He'll just make bigger money.
Oh,
don't give him any ideas, Gabe.
Just make it bigger money.
Bigger money. It's got to be the biggest.
It's got to be huge money. The biggest money in all the countries on the planet. Our money. You could use it like a blanket. Our dollar bill.
I think that the way to combat that would be just to tell him that's the same as inflation. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like inflation. So,
but he still doesn't care about it. He just doesn't like the word inflation.
He doesn't like it. He's doing nothing to stop it.
I'm just saying he doesn't like the word.
He doesn't like the word. That's all. It's just the word.
He doesn't like the word affordability now anymore either. He's like, that is a democratic word, affordability.
Any word on the big gift we got from Iran yet?
No.
He wouldn't tell us.
Look, I actually don't know what you're talking about, but
you don't?
I don't. But in my cartoon bubble, I just want you to understand how my brain works. In my cartoon bubble, it's a really big like present box with an ornate ribbon that's ticking when you listen to it. So my advice would be, don't open it.
Well, it's for us, just so you know. And he said it at a press conference, and he said, I just want you to know that Iran has given us, it was talking about concessions in the war, and they gave us a huge gift. Huge gift. He can't tell us about it right now. He goes, I'm not going to tell you about it right now, but it's a huge gift, very valuable.
He also, this made me chuckle. They're asking him, he was talking to a former president who told him that he totally is supportive of him because he wished he would have bombed Iran when he was in office. And as we know, there's only 4 living presidents: President Trump, 4 former presidents: President Trump, President Biden, President Obama, W, and Clinton. And so it's obviously not Obama, because if they had talked, like, hell would freeze over. And so the reporter goes, and the reporter asked who it was. He said, I'm not going to tell you. And then he said, was it Bush? And he said, nope. And he said, was it Clinton? And he said, I'm not going to tell you.
I love all these surprises he's got for us. It's like Christmas having him be president.
Oh my God. I mean, he and Clinton are obviously like longtime friends and associates of Jeffrey Epstein too. So, I know, like,
guessing games are fun. I think he's just having fun with us. He's improving morale. We got a big present coming, and we can all be excited about it.
It's a massive gift.
But he can't tell us.
The entire international world and international relations and leaders in the world all know how much that man loves presents.
How many years how many million people are in our country?
330 some odd.
Why have we had an insane person running ours for the last 12 years? Or whatever it is. We can't find anyone else?
The application process is very discreet. Yeah, it doesn't like if the next. So we're going to have another presidential election probably in about 2.5 years. My suggestion is to put this baby on monster.com and or whatever AI comes up with between now and then, and let's just see what it spits out. Maybe it will be someone like a professional cornhole player and quadruple amputee. At this moment, and actually until I saw the story we're about to reference here, I might have thought that person could do a better job. But instead, they're doing murder, is what they're doing.
I mean, it's really impressive.
Allegedly.
Starting with, there are professional cornhole players?
And
how could you do that as an amputee? He spits it?
I don't know, guys.
He's a quadruple amputee. This is also,
he spits it.
I am more than certain that the words that are strung together in this sentence have never appeared in a sentence before, ever. This is the first time a professional cornhole player and quadruple amputee is arrested for murder. Those are words that have never existed together before.
Not in that order.
I've been called a cornhole player, but that was back in college.
I don't know what we're doing as a country when this is a legitimate story and it really happened. But other than the murder part, and I want to be careful to observe, other than the murder part, I am so amused by this.
It makes me wish Ted Koppel was still around so you could hear the dun 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 dun. A professional cornhole player has been like
professional cornhole player,
quadruple amputee is arrested. That's a mouthful.
Killing people. It is.
He's got plenty to be mad about.
Yeah. Well, but why? He earns money.
Plenty to be proud of. He is a professional cornhole quadruple amputee. And you're out there earn a professional.
Maybe he's the bag.
Oh.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I take it back,
perfect.
everybody.
It's perfect. No, it is. It's
the only solution. And he was thrown on top of. And he was thrown on top of one of the competitors, and that's who killed him.
And he couldn't get off
because he doesn't have limbs.
And
poor guy.
It must have been what happened.
He's a victim of circumstance.
It's not. Well, then I could be the lawyer on that defense.
ESPN did a highlight on. ESPN did a highlight on him in 2010, and when I read that, I was like, "Oh my God, I remember that," because I remember being like, "How is he?" Because he like uses his neck and his shoulder a lot, and I just and now I'm literally making this connection right now as we are recording, and my mind's a little bit blown because when they did the special on him, he was just a kid. He was 12. He was in 7th grade, and he wanted to either be a priest or a Secret Service agent one day, which is raising more questions. So, anyways, I hope that justice is served for the family that lost a loved one at his hands, because it's I know not guilty until innocent until proven guilty, but calls it as I sees it.
I got to hear more.
I also got to hear more. I got to understand,
I feel like I'm on his side.
I don't know how I'm going to say this without sounding insensitive, but it's not like they're going to have fingerprints on the weapon. Like,
you can't dust for neck.
How are we? I want to watch this trial, and Court TV or whatever you're called now. Please be all over this.
Mike, this is the funniest headline in show history that I've ever seen brought forward.
100% it is.
Yeah.
And you can't make it up. And we didn't. So everyone, angry Americans, we have something to unite about.
We do. We can all be on the side.
We can all be on his side. I mean, justice. Just justice.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Shall we spank and shall we thank?
We shall. Oh, plugs first. I can do it real quick. Well, one, if you enjoy our weekly podcast and enjoy Gabe speaking up more when it's just the two of us, which we enjoy, please consider becoming a Patreon member so that we can continue to resource Gabe for his time and efforts in putting this show together every week. Again, if you have the resources, we ask for it. If you don't, you keep listening. You keep listening, learning, and hopefully laughing a little bit. We also want to note Amy and Brian every Tuesday morning on the Bob Sansevier Show, the BS Show, as well as every other Friday morning on the Al Travis Show. I don't know who's on Almanac tonight. They actually reached out, and I will be on a plane, so I'm not sure who will be. What?
Maybe you will be.
Maybe I will be. Yeah, I might be. Who knows?
You might live in Florida after this. Who knows?
Exactly. So, but we should always be watching the longest running public affairs show on public television, Almanac, on TPT Channel 2. So don't miss that, regardless if any of us are on it. All right. Now, spanks and thanks, please.
All right. You want me to go first?
Sure.
I will go first. I'd like to go in order, Gabe, of my spank first, if that's okay. This is, I saw this doing a little research for today's show. The headline here is Conservative Group's Image. There's that word again. I reject it. Conservative Group's Image mocking the late Melissa Hortman draws scorn. I was not surprised to scroll down and read that this story was about Action for Liberty, which to describe it as a conservative political action committee, I suppose will function in a world where we must live in a binary world. I don't find it to be so, but regardless of whether they're conservative or whether they're not, I find that if you cannot withhold comment on something as deeply hurtful and sensitive as the murder of Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband and her dog, I think maybe you should take the next couple of plays off. And again, I don't know whether it's a good idea to name a state park or have a statue or whatever. Those seem like perfectly appropriate things to be considering in light of the sacrifice that was made for our state. and for Action for Liberty, and in particular, a former state representative, Eric Mortensen, who runs that organization, to be so insensitive as to make the comment that he made. A, doesn't surprise me, and B, makes me think that it's not a surprise that we're not winning more as a center right movement. Now, it bears repeating and at least pointing out that there was a follow-up to say we condemn the assassination of Melissa Hortman and her thievery while serving in the legislature. Not much of a help. And as I said to Allison in doing show prep, had she not become essentially a martyr and a terrible victim of the horrible politics we're in, it would at least be worth observing that at least in this case, a purported conservative group is spending a minute attacking a DFLer and not fellow Republicans, which is what they seem to want to do 90% of the time. But of course, this one should be off limits for everyone who's decent. So do better. And you are hereby spanked by me. My thank is for our good friends at the University of Minnesota, specifically the women's basketball team, for achieving something that hasn't been done in over 20 years, which is to say getting to the Sweet 16, the third round of the NCAA tournament. It was very fun. My wife and I, the game that got them to the Sweet 16 was last Sunday, and we were driving, so we were running errands and stuff. But we had the game on the radio, and we were listening to it, and it was a really dramatic inbounds and amazing basket by Amaya Battle to win the game last week, and so it's very exciting. Now their path gets pretty tough. They're running up against the juggernaut this evening in UCLA, who's possibly a historically good basketball team. So if 6:30 tonight on ESPN, get your Sky Uma on and root for your Lady Gophers as they attempt to make it to the Elite Eight for the first time since 2004 or 5. I forget how far they made it, which year they made it to the Final Four. I want to say it was 2004. But they are 19.5-point underdogs this evening. So it will be a very big upset if they're able to win. But as I am to understand, they played UCLA very tough twice this season. So hopefully they can kind of put something together and surprise us all and give us a big victory. So thank you for an amazing season, for an amazing career in the case of Amaya Battle. And we'll look forward to cheering you on this evening. Allison.
Love it. Being a Minnesota sports fan is hard. I usually say that, but I'm going to start to differentiate. Being a Minnesota men's sports team fan is hard. We have the best women's sports in Minnesota, from the high school level, like some of the best in the country, to professional levels. So I go Gophers.
The world has plenty of sexism as it is, Allison, but thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to start with my spank because my thank is heavy. But I'm going to, as I say, go Gophers, I say it a little tongue-in-cheek because I am not a graduate of the University of Minnesota. My father worked there for 45 years, and I didn't really want to go see my dad at work every day. So, but I appreciate the institution. I appreciate the land-grant institution. I love the Greater Minnesota campuses. It's a great system. We should be proud of it. And it produces a lot of amazing professionals in the world. But I am spanking them hard today, a hard spanking, because it has come out that the University of Minnesota for the past 5 years has spent $15 million. $15 million on a rebranding campaign, which when I see stuff like this, like $700,000 here for a plan, $15 million for rebranding, I question my life choices and my professional endeavors. But that being said, and not only did they spend $15 million, the final outcome is less than I feel like give me AI and 2 glasses of wine, and I could have gotten you something better because the new tagline, which for the last 20 years has been driven to discover, great, love it, action oriented. It's good verbiage, but the new one that they have come up is leave a future.
Oy.
And there's 5 glaring things wrong with this. I will start with one. Have you read the news here? We're a little sensitive in Minnesota to catchy names with future in them because it is real close to feeding a future. Additionally, I don't know what it means. What does it mean to leave a future? Like physically leave? Obviously, I understand what they're getting at, but it's not clear. It's muddy. It's not clear. It doesn't, taglines are taglines. But
I'm trying to draw philosophy students.
Oh,
it's a Schrodinger's tagline.
It is. It's deeply philosophical. It's a problem.
Yes. But they also had a survey went out to students last week around some of the new branding taglines under consideration. So I don't think they've landed on Leave a Future, but let me read you some. Be vital. Vital are we. The vital force. The undeniable. Like
15 million.
Vital,
15 million.
Vital are we, Padawan? I just I can't.
Vital are we?
The vital force. May the force be with you. Anyways, I
the people at the Vitality Council got their money's worth from that.
No kidding. Oh my God. In a time when you're charging every student a $200 surcharge for athletics, when tuition keeps raising year after year, when there is significant backlog in just in HEAPR, for those nerds out there, that is asset preservation of existing university assets. There are buildings at the University of Minnesota Morris campus, which, by the way, has the largest, it has free tuition for Indigenous folks. And there are buildings there without air conditioning. There are buildings there where the heat doesn't work in the winter. It is Minnesota. So to see kind of just an egregious use of $15 million irks me as a taxpayer. So, and it's irking the legislature. I do joke that the most bipartisan thing at the state of Minnesota legislature is frustration with the University of Minnesota system. So,
hold on, just real quick though. What you guys obviously don't understand is, think of how many more students are going to want to go to this school now. Taglines are huge
because they'll be leaving their future.
Because they'll be leaving.
Oh, when I was looking at colleges, all I do is look for what's the school's tagline? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing.
It's a huge draw.
Party scene, sports scene, in that order.
I put tagline first for me. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sum it up for me. What are we doing here?
What are we doing here? We're leaving a future.
Leaving a future. It sounds like something someone says after going to the toilet, as a joke, it's a bad, going to the Super Bowl joke.
Yeah, that's
it
literally.
Does. I just left a future in the.
It only elicits jokes.
Yeah, right, exactly. And $15 million.
Exactly.
That's Kristi Noem level investment in the bid.
It is. That is. Did she do
it's
that?
Not $220 million.
I think she was $220 million. Yeah, but she has a whole country to leave.
Well, she probably jotted this down on an airplane ride and got 15 mil.
Yeah.
Well, she did leave. So, real quick, my think this week. It's not so much a think because it's incredibly tragic, but it is more of just an acknowledgement of the loss of Jessie Pierce and her 3 children. Hudson, who is 8, Caden, who is 6, and Avery, who is 4. Jessie and her 3 children passed away in a tragic fire at their home in White Bear Lake last week. She and I are around the same age. And I have a lot of friends from the White Bear Lake area who grew up with her and knew her and just loved her. She's also, super public, had a super public job as a hockey reporter with the Minnesota Wild and NHL.com. She also did a lot of talk shows and local media. And she was just she was a really, really good sports reporter. And there are not that many women in it, especially in hockey. But it's a huge loss for the hockey community. It's a huge loss for women in sports journalism and just in broadcast journalism, period. And I'm so all of the love and grace to her husband, who was out of town at the time, and the large family that she leaves behind.
Yeah,
thank you for that. That was great. Yes, she was a great ambassador for the game.
I can't imagine being her husband. I mean, just so if you're so inclined, say a prayer for him and his healing during all this.
Yeah. So,
well, that was a lively show, Allison. Thank you for jumping in and doing this via Zoom and avoiding norovirus together with me and with Gabe. So. Until next week, folks, take a couple laps, enjoy some laughs, maybe play some cornhole, if you're down a limb or two, and
don't commit murder.
Don't murder. It's not worth it. Just play another game.
It's not a blood
settle
sport.
Your differences that way. Yeah, it's not a it's not
supposed to be
everywhere. It's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be a blood sport.
Until next week, I am conservative classic Mike Franklin.
And I am 57 minutes away from a legislative break and a happy lobbyist, Allison Messi.
And we are wrong
about everything.